Good morning. This is your 8:15 daily operations weather briefing. Seeing plenty of sun to start the morning this morning with just a few clouds around and a bit on the milder side as to what we've seen the last couple of days. And overall, going to see a fairly seasonable or actually slightly above average temperature wise, and we'll see a pretty nice and quiet weather day today as we'll have some slightly breezy conditions building in and some cloud cover building in as well ahead of a front that will push through the area during the early Thursday morning time frame. And that's going to bring uh, breezy to windy conditions with much colder temperatures for the next couple of days. And additionally, we'll see some light rain pushing through the area with that boundary and possibly some light snow mixing in on the backside of that, but not expecting any significant accumulation with that snowfall. And overall, those rain totals will be on the lower side. If we take a look at the current surface analysis, we have tightening pressure gradient over the region with that strong area of low pressure well to our north and that trailing cold front dropping down from that, and that will be pushing through the area, bringing that potential for some shower activity later this evening. But expecting those slightly breezy southwesterly winds to continue as we move through the day today, and then again behind that front we'll see much colder temperatures and breezy to windy northwesterly winds blowing through the area, making it feel even colder. Current conditions this morning, just seeing a few clouds around 11,000 feet and a few clouds at 25,000 feet. Winds fairly light and variable this morning with generally a south to southwesterly wind component to that, but still fairly light, but we'll see those picking up. We'll see temperature 39 degrees and relative humidity is at 59%. Taking a look at the current visible satellite, we can see we're in this pocket of some clearer skies. We do have some high clouds that will be building in from the south, and some more mid-level clouds off to our north and northwest. Again, expecting generally increasing clouds through the day, eventually becoming mostly cloudy to overcast as we get into that evening time frame. And we'll see that as we take a look at the high-resolution model here for the next couple days to see picking up on that cloud cover moving in as we move through the day, and we'll start to see those slightly breezy south-southwesterly winds as we move through the day, but generally expecting to stay below wind advisory criteria as we move through our working hours with those peak gusts up around 20 to 21 knots. As we go into the late afternoon and first part of the evening, we will have some additional mid and lower level clouds starting to build into the area. As you can see, model indicating some reflectivity here, mainly in the form of some elevated precip. Can't rule out a very slight chance we see maybe some light rain or a light sprinkle making it to the surface, but generally this will stay in the elevated levels and not make it to the surface. As we continue to move through the overnight time frame, continue to see those mostly cloudy to overcast conditions, then we'll start to see that boundary approaching as we move into the early morning hours prior to sunrise. We'll have a chance of a few showers, good chance of seeing some shower activity pushing through the area during that time frame. This model quite a bit slower with this passage than a majority of the modeling, but nonetheless going to see some shower activity, and then as that cold air tries to catch up, a chance of seeing some light snow mixing in, maybe a few flurries, but not expecting any significant totals with any of that snowfall, and we'll struggle to accumulate with the warmer surfaces prior to the front moving through. But what we will see is some ramping up of those winds just ahead and behind that boundary as it pushes through, and those winds shifting northwesterly, and with that going to see much colder temperatures moving into the area, and we'll struggle to get into the mid-30s as we move through the remainder of our Thursday, keeping those winds elevated, so likely seeing a wind advisory through the day Thursday, and we'll likely see breezy conditions continuing into much of the evening, Thursday evening, but eventually we will start to see those clouds moving out of the area as we get into Friday, but still staying fairly cold for this time of year, but those temperatures, those high temperatures still staying in the 30s, but things do dry out and become mostly sunny as we move into the day on Friday. So looking at the 24-hour weather risk chart for today, we're starting off our working hours today with green conditions. We'll see our high temperature peaking around 55 degrees for the early part of the afternoon, and again those southwest to south-southwesterly winds will start to pick up around 9 to 14 knots with peak gusts up around 21 knots. So expecting those green conditions through our working hours today, and as we go into the evening we'll start to see some more risk moving into the area, initially starting with some cloud cover, seeing those ceilings possibly dropping down to around 3,000 feet. Through the first part of the evening we'll start to see a peak gust creeping up to around 22 to 23 knots as we move through the overnight time frame. So we do introduce that yellow risk for wind advisory criteria. And as we move past mainly the 2 to 3 a.m. time frame is when we'll see that best chance for some light rain activity moving into the area with that boundary. There's more of a westerly component to the wind, and there's gusts creeping up around 23 to 25 knots. And we do start to introduce that orange risk for wind advisory criteria, with that wind advisory becoming likely by the time we get into the start of the day on Thursday. And as indicated, do have mainly rain with this activity, and as we get to the backside of that front, we'll see a chance for some light flurries or snow mixing in with that rain and potentially ending with generally just some light flurries. But again, no snow accumulation expected, but just going to see colder and much breezier conditions as we get into the start of the day on Thursday. Tide's still running slightly below normal today. And Thursday, we'll see mostly cloudy conditions for the first part of the day, and we'll see a gradual clearing trend as we get later in the day, becoming partly cloudy. Very slight chance for some lingering flurries early, but the main threat will be those breezy to windy conditions. We'll have the red risk for wind advisory, with that wind advisory likely remaining through the day and into the evening time frame Thursday evening. And it will also be quite colder with our high temperature around 37 degrees, and those wind chills will start to feel like the low 20s as we move through the day on Thursday, possibly the upper teens at times. Thursday night, another cold night, partly cloudy to mostly cloudy at times, as we will have some clouds lingering around. Continue to see some breezy to windy conditions, and those wind chills will start to approach those single digits, generally expecting the low teens, because can't rule out seeing some single digit wind chills, but the actual low temperature will be around 21 degrees. And another colder day for Friday, a couple degrees warmer, but still seeing a high of 39 degrees, and wind chills still in the upper 20s, mid to upper 20s, but we'll see more in the way of sun and less in the way of wind. So looking at green conditions currently for Friday with just some slightly breezy conditions. That's going to wrap up the 8:15 daily operations weather briefing. We'll be back again at 10 a.m. to take a look at the extended forecast. Enjoy your morning.